All right, another podcast from the Michigan Institute of Athletics in Brighton, Michigan. I'm super excited about this podcast. Sitting here with Max Auger, one of the Academy's sponsors, a man that's really built his own business and legacy right here in the community the same way that I have. So, Max, I'm going to start this episode the way that I start all my episodes. Before we talk about who you are today, let's wind the clock back. Let's talk about where you were born and raised, what you were like as a young man. What were the things that were like really influential to you? What did you think life had in store for you? And then we'll slowly kind of work up to where you are today, and then we can kind of cover whatever, values, you know, your business, why you decided to back the academy, your goals for the future, etc.
Yeah. Where do I start? May 25th, 1981. I was actually born in a military base, Barstow, California. My dad was a logistics supply guy out there for the Marine Corps. That's where he met my mom, and before the age of 4, I went from there to Albany, Georgia, Albany, New York, and by the time I was 4 going on to 5, I moved to Michigan. That's where my dad and his family have been. And, you know, growing up, my dad had a recording studio, always had like a girlfriend or whatever, and it was one income family, and where he worked like 7 days a week. A guy was in the recording studio 7 days a week. You know, I probably played catch with my dad like once and fished with him once because he was always at work, you know. And then that was during the 80s, man. So it was a one income thing still, you know. I moved 14 times by the age of 14. I've lived again in California, Georgia, New York, Michigan, Kentucky, Tennessee, and back to Michigan before the age of 14. The longest I've ever been at a school was about 5 years, which was in Montrose. So, yeah, I've been all around, man, you know.
I want to ask questions about that right off the bat because I went to about 5 different schools too.
Yeah.
And I remember every time I had a friend group, gone,
yeah. When you went to it, yeah.
You're the new kid.
Right.
You have to start all over.
Yep.
You're isolated. You got to slowly make friends again. You got to permeate this new group of people. And on top of that, you miss your old friends.
Oh, yeah.
What was that like for you? And what were the things that you think were negative at that time from it, but also positives that you might have gained from being a kid that, you know, you got your world shaken up is what happens.
Yeah, you know what? 2 things. One, never really had a best friend growing up, someone that says, oh, man, I went to kindergarten with this guy. Never had that, you know. The cool thing was I got to reinvent myself every time I went to another school. So they didn't know the old poor Max Auger. They only know what they see. So every single school, I was a different person. If you ask everybody, I hung out with different friend groups. I talked to different people. So I got to basically reinvent myself every time I went to these new schools. Sometimes, most of the time, I was super outgoing and charismatic. But there'd be a school like I go to for 2-3 months, I wouldn't talk to anybody. I was doing social experiments before I even know that was a thing, you know, and I was doing it with myself. So yeah, that's I guess the negative part is never having a best friend, but the cool part was being able to reinvent myself every time I got to start over at a new school. So I was excited about every new school. I'm like, oh crap, they're not going to know about X, Y, and Z that I did at this other school when I messed up, you know what I mean? Or, you know, so that I thought was pretty cool. You know, most people would think that.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. And that does show you, I was actually just telling you a story right before the podcast about a gentleman that just came in here who's really struggling. He's in a tough spot in his life, right? And I'm not going to shout out parts of his story, but I was trying to explain to him the concept that, like, you are what you choose to be today, man. Oh, yeah. When you walk in this building, nobody knows your past. Nobody knows all your mistakes and all the times you fucked up and everything you've done wrong. They witness the way that you treat people today, the way that you carry yourself today, the way that you present yourself, and what you're aiming at and what you're moving towards. So if you look at yourself as the broken version of your past and then you carry that into your future, you will continue to create a very broken future. And more people need to realize that, like, you're what you choose to be. You can be an asshole for a large portion of your life because you got a lot of hate in your heart, or you've been hurt, or you are unfulfilled by certain things, or certain things didn't go your way and you're a little bit jaded. And then you can one day recognize, like, you know what, this isn't the actual best behavior for me. And if I can turn this around, I can probably cultivate a better friendship group. I can probably be more accepted by a community. I can provide light for other people. So it's I think that's a profound part of your story that you got to recognize that as a kid. Like, wait a second. It's however I show up today.
Yeah,
I'm not condemned by the past.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a really good point of your story. When you're in high school, What'd you think you were going to do with this life? Did you think you were going to go military because that's what you knew, or?
Yeah, so my dad was a Marine. A lot of my grandfather was a Marine. I was going to be a Marine, so I did the delayed enlistment, I think the end of my sophomore year. I didn't pay attention in school. I barely scraped by because I knew I was just going to be a Marine. You know what I mean? That's what I'm doing for the rest of my life, So I'm going to retire when I'm 41, and, that's it for me. During the time, I think back up a little bit before high school. When I was 11 years old, I had 15 lawns that I mowed. I pushed an ice cream cart in Burton by myself from one side of the neighborhood to the other. So I had 15 lawns, and I pushed an ice cream cart. I worked my way up. I had a Bryden lawnmower with a little cart that I'd put my push mower and my weed whip in. I was 10, 11 years old, walking around with a knot full of money. You know what I mean? And my kind of like a stepmom who was around mostly when I was growing up, they would be like, where are you getting all this money? I'm like, you never see me all day. I'm mowing lawns. While these kids are playing in the street, I'm out there working, So
where did that come from, Max? Because you had an entrepreneurial father to some degree. He's trying to run a record studio. Did he influence that, or did you see your father doing what he did and said, wait a second, maybe there's a way I can do it? How did that happen?
Yeah, a little bit of that. Yeah, right. My dad's super charismatic when it comes to that sort of stuff, too. He's always owned his own business and worked for himself, so he's never worked for anybody other than the Marine Corps. Outside of that, it's been his own businesses. But we were poor, and I wanted stuff that I couldn't afford, and I figured, well, if I can make my own money, why do I need to beg my mom to get me the Nikes? I could buy my own damn Nikes. That starter coat that I always wanted, I buy my own starter coat. I just got to work for it. And then when you get all this money in your hand, you're like, holy shit, man, I got a ton of money. And it was really rewarding, And then, this kid that was super, almost too outgoing, probably super ADHD, that everybody thought would, be a criminal, because I was crazy, fighting all the time and hanging out with the wrong crowd. But when I started doing that, the attention was like, dude, you really do that? You're really pushing it? You got that money for it? Max, good job, dude. Most kids your age ain't doing that, And I'm like, yeah, that makes me feel good when people say that about me, So I was working it early, man, So and fast forward now and go to high school. I'm up in Montrose. I moved there 8th grade, so from 8th to 12th grade, I was in Montrose. Stealing cigarettes and liquor from stores in 8th grade, smoking. And then started I remember going into my high school years, I started seeing these football players wearing their football jackets and stuff like that. And I'm like, dude, they got a lot of respect, and they're all big, buff guys, So I started working out 8th grade, and I remember the gym teacher. This is how big of a clown I was. He wore the bike shorts, and if you don't know what those are, the short bike shorts. He wore a tucked-in polo shirt with a whistle, and then high-top Adidas. So I happened to find the entire outfit in the Lost and Found. So I put all that shit on, and then class is getting ready to start. And he's in front of the class, and then I come walking out of the locker room. So anyways, the class starts laughing. I could tell it aggravated, but he let me stay up next to him during the class. Everybody's dying laughing. It's a typical Max Auger show. Everywhere I went, I was this class clown. That's what I did.
Why do you think that was, Max?
I don't know, man. I like the attention, I think.
Is it the father was a little bit disconnected? He's always working. He's always doing these things, and you're just trying to have that
Probably, man. I was just a goofy. I just wanted to make people laugh and happy.
You were willing to stand out regardless of what the light really was. Yeah. It was okay for you to be in front of people. It was okay, but you made an impact. Max mattered.
Right. Yeah. You either loved me or you hated me. But I really got enjoyment out of watching people laugh and having somebody that's like super down on themselves and making them feel good and laugh. I really got enjoyment out of that too. You know what I mean? So for me to get a whole crowd to laugh, it was like awesome. Class clown. That's great. My desk was always in the hallway, So anyways, that next year, which would have been the gym teacher, is now the head coach for varsity football. And I remember he looked at me at the end of that year. He goes, if you ever try playing football, you will never play for me. So don't even try. And I'm like, I don't care. I'm not playing football. And then all my friends started playing football. They're like, oh, we're getting ready. We're going to work out. I'm like, oh, crap. So I start working out. Sure enough, he rode my ass. The dude hated me. You know what I mean? Because I was the kid that was a class clown that made fun of him in 8th grade and never let off the gas on the guy. And then now I want his respect, and I'm trying to earn it. So it was an uphill battle for me. So I pushed myself. I worked out 5 days a week. I didn't do drugs or alcohol. I didn't have one drink until my senior year after football. I dedicated everything to weightlifting and football. Ended up being state champ twice in powerlifting. Strongest in the state pound for pound in 1997. And then I think I took 4th or 6th in the nation on 1 hour sleep when we went to nationals for powerlifting. So by the time I became a senior in football, I've never touched football in my life, he had to start me. I was one of the hardest working kids, and he respected me. And I was the kid that, I wasn't big. I was 165 pounds, but I was squatting almost 500 pounds, deadlifting almost 500 pounds, benching in the low 200s, 165 pounds. So I was strong as fuck. I was all heart. I wouldn't give up. And it was funny, we'd have these drills. I wasn't a starting linebacker. I was a nose guard, but I also went against these guys that were D1 athletes because I'm the only one that would hit them, be dumb enough to hit them during drills. And it was one of those things, too, that like, okay, I'm not going to be the starting, strong safety, and I'm not going to be the starting linebacker, but I'm going to show up to practice every day, and I'm going to work my ass off because my attention that I'm going to get is going to be in practice and the respect from the coaches and the other students, the other players on the team. So I remember they would be, we'd be in practice, and, I'd have a shocker or something. You all right? I'm like, yeah. He goes, stand out. I could tell. Yeah, I had a dislocated shoulder. You know what I mean? And that was multiple times. I would hit these guys so hard, I would make them stop, and I wanted to quit. These guys are 220 pounds. I'm 165, and we're smashing each other. And I remember they'd take their helmet off and be like, all right, we need to step out. You know what I mean? Like, I'm good, need to take a break. And I'm like, yeah, motherfudger. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you got some. I might not be out there, playing that defense when you're out there, but you're going to feel me. So I remember in practice, it was like they needed scout team offense. And I crushed these guys. And I'd play running back, and they hated it. I was so ADD, I could not remember a play. But if they hold up a card, and the card's got the play on it, I can run it perfect. So when you're on scout team, they have these little cards. You know what I mean? And, Max, this is you. I'm like, oh, yeah, I got this. I know I'm getting the pitch. I'm gone. In fact, it made them a better team. They thought I was showing off when really that was my time to play football, was during practice, right? So I'm making them better. So by the time that they go play these teams who we're doing we're doing their offensive plays towards the starting defense, they know it's coming. And if it's executed properly, because I'm executing it just like it says that line. That line says go there. If you're in front of me, you're going down. Or we're both going down, So I prided myself in that. And then I did get the start at receiver. We ran veer. So we didn't do a ton of passing. And then, you know what? I think he gave it to me out of respect. My hands were like decent, but I wasn't the best athlete, but I was strong. That's something I can control, is my strength. And another thing I controlled was my mouth. I started to respect the adults more and realizing sometimes the less you speak, the more they hear you. So my actions had to be louder than what my words were at school. And so when I would be an asshole in school, I'd get to practice and I would be an angel. I'm not talking shit, but I'm going to smash everybody in here, and the coach is going to recognize me. And that's what I wanted. So I think football changed my life.
Without a doubt. I mean, sitting here listening to your story, I bet you it was a foundational reason for why you are who you are to this day. Like, football really helped shape you. Did you ever earn the respect from that coach?
Yeah, I did. Especially working, we had a powerlifting team, and now I'm going and I'm dominating schools in my weight class. And he would pit me against this guy, and I'm crushing him. I was 80 FPA state champion. High school state champion in football. One year I was strongest pound for pound. The same year I was state champion. So they take your total between bench, deadlift, and squat by your body weight. And I was the strongest on any weight class in the state. So for a little guy, I was strong. You know, there was guys stronger than me in other weight classes. But I think he respected how hard I worked, and I finally earned his respect, you know. So yeah, that was a big deal.
Yeah, that's massive, and it's such a good lesson to learn. And there's also, it's kind of like a redemption story, regardless of what you did on your initial meeting. You dressed up like him, and you made fun of him in front of the group of people that he needs respect from the most. That's brutal.
Yeah.
And then to work back into like, I'm going to prove to you that I am a man of value and that you earned that respect. That's huge, man. A lot of times, if you saw you as a football coach, you'd be a victim forever. I didn't play football because that guy was the coach and he wouldn't have given me a shot. It's like, well, tell the whole story. Why did you have? Why did he have an issue with you?
There's two sides. Yeah.
You said two things that I want to reflect on before you continue with your story. One, you said, I was willing to do almost anything to make people laugh because I enjoyed seeing other people happy or enjoyed seeing people laugh. So deep down, that tells me you've always had a good heart, regardless of the shit that you might have been doing. You're stealing. You're doing this. You're doing things that objectively are wrong. That when you look back, you probably just weren't even really considering them. You just go through the motions. But there's a good dude in there that says, man, I do want to see other people happy. I want to earn the respect of that man, regardless of the problems that we have. There's a good spirit behind all this. And you said another thing. You said, I thought I would retire in the Marines. So you were going through high school with already the pre-programmed plan. I'm going to the Marines. That is my life story. Max Auger will be the Marine that does 20 years in or whatever it is. Somewhere along the line, did that change or did you serve 20 years? I don't even know the background of your military service. And if it changed, what made it change?
Well, so go to the Marine Corps and just over a year and a half, tore my ACL, my meniscus. So I ended up getting discharged 30%, I think. So I get 30% disability for the rest of my life. So now here I am. I'm early 20s and out of the Marine Corps at this point.
I don't want to skip over your Marine Corps story that quickly. When you joined the Marines, is it what you were expecting? I'm hearing this class clown kid that was bouncing all over the place, but you found yourself a little bit in football and powerlifting. You really you have to work hard in those things. You saw results come from working hard. You earned respect. Military is regimented. It is structure. It is, you will respect the authority figure.
For sure.
Probably sometimes even for people that in the normal society you wouldn't even give that much respect to. But when you went in the military, was it your expectations? Was it a lot different? How did that shape you before we, expedite your story?
Yeah, I mean, you're stripped down to nothing, right? And you're around a bunch of people from all different walks of life, different colors of skin. People speaking different languages. You got Spanish-speaking Mexican people. You got black guys from southern Florida. You've got guys from California. In the Marine Corps, they say everybody's green, right? We're all green. That's the color we are, and we're all Marines. And so it was cool, the brotherhood portion of it. The physical aspect, I really enjoyed that too because I like staying in shape and working out, and I really enjoyed that, So the hardship I had, when I got hurt, mentally that messed me up, I'm like, damn it. So I got to go home now, Here I am. I didn't prepare my life for anything. I didn't want to do college, didn't prep for it, didn't care, didn't take SATs. You know what I mean? I just thought I was going to join the Marine Corps and go shoot people, So that changed pretty quick. But it was like them stripping you of everything. I think that helped change my mindset on what I should be focused on and what I should be grateful for. So when I did come out and I got a little TV in my own one single wide trailer on the south side of Flint, I was proud of myself. I'm like, dude, I got my own TV. You know what I mean? I had like 2-3 outfits. I had a dog. So when you're stripped from all that stuff, and you start off in life coming out of the Marine Corps, for me, it was like, this is shit. You know what I mean? Like not having anything, no problem.
That's actually wild because I've interviewed tons of veterans. I was sponsored by Vet Life for a while back, and we talked with a lot of veterans in this studio. And so many of them said when they left the military, they lost their identity. They felt broken. They fell into really bad depression. They fell into substance abuse because they went from this regimented purpose structure. Like you knew where you were going to be, what you were going to do. You were a part of a team. You had these band of brothers around you. And all of a sudden you go back to regular society. Like you're just cast off. Yeah. Do you think the fact that you bounced all over the place as a kid and you constantly had to start over maybe made that transition a little bit easier?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, change is change. You know, they say no one likes change. It's true to some point, but you got to accept it for what it is. So, you know, for me, change was no big deal. Okay, this is what I'm doing now in my life. I'm moving forward. What am I going to do next? You know, in high school, backing up, I used to make money going door to door selling reflective address signs. I used to be good at it. I used to wear my football coat, you know, purposely, and I'd work certain areas. They'd see that football coat and be like, oh, Max is here to sell us an address. Oh, just $21. So, you know, I was making so much money doing that, they gave me a car to drive, you know. I was the number one salesman at this place that sells these signs. There's guys supporting their family on it, and I'm doing it just for fun, just for candy and Jolt Cola money, you know. So I established earlier that, okay, I'm going to probably be in sales and marketing, you know, and then that was pretty much it. It's been an uphill climb, you know. I remember my heat got shut off. And it was, I don't know, for about 2 months, and I called them up, and I guess what happened was my dad had a gas bill that I lived with him when I first got out. They put it in my little single-wide trailer, so they cut the gas off. So I had electricity still. So I used to take I'd turn on the electric stove, I'd put a fan in front of it, and I'd heat the house that way, you know, during the day. At night, I'd shut that shit off, didn't want to die in my sleep, burn it down. I had a space heater in my room, and I put the space heater in my room. Me and the dog slept in the room. We close the door, and it's, you know, 70 degrees, nice and comfy. Wake up in the morning. As soon as I open up, you could see your breath, right? Luckily, my hot water tank was electric, so I had heated water. So I'm like, this isn't bad, dude. You've got a place where you can really wash your butt and be normal, right? So I'd turn on the hot water, slam the door to the bathroom, run back into my room, shut the door, wait for it to get hot, go in there all steamy, get ready for my day. I called, like, after a couple months of this, I couldn't stand it anymore. I was like, I call them up, and I did a little white lie. Just so you know, I have 3 children, and if something ever happens because we don't have heat, it's on you guys. Hold on 1 second, Mr. Auger. They came out that day, and they turned my gas back on, and I squared up with them on the bill, you know, so... but yeah, you know, this was just, I was a wild kid that always wanted more, you know, and, you know, I wanted all the things, you know what I mean? I wanted the dirt bikes, the 4-wheelers. I wanted the house, the cars, the money, you know, but, I knew I had to get it myself. I didn't have anybody to help me. You know, I didn't have someone write me a check. I couldn't live with my parents till I got my shit together in my late 20s, you know, or get money from my dad for a down payment on a business. I didn't have that opportunity.
Dude, I've loved hearing your story so far, and it's not shocking to me because I've had these conversations with so many people. There are so many people that are in circumstances like you were just describing that look at people that have their lives together and go, it must be nice. They must have had every advantage.
It's the worst.
You must have your business because you got a handout.
Right.
You're saying right here, no, I was at rock bottom for what most people would consider. Yeah. I don't have any handouts. I'm struggling to get, you know, heat in my trailer. And you built to where you are. Yeah. It is so important for people to hear these stories because it re-empowers the people that are at the bottom going, dude, it's on you. Yeah. You have to step up. And you can point out and say, man, it must be nice. And that doesn't hurt the person that it is nice for. It hurts you.
Oh, yeah. It makes you look horrible.
It's taking your power from you to go change your life and get to that situation, right? And you're giving it away. So you're in that situation. How do the pieces start to connect, or were there any light shift moments where you had a serious breakthrough, where you changed the way that you were, or you got the right job opportunity, or you met the right mentor or person? How do you go from living in the trailer, you got one TV that you're super proud of, to now you have a very successful life? Yeah. What were the big pivotal moments that started to give you those breakthroughs?
Driving in Flint on the south side, I got T-boned underneath a bridge. I didn't have money for insurance at the time. I shouldn't even be saying that. I'm an insurance agent now.
No, you should tell the truth. You should tell the truth.
So I took off. So did the guy that hit me. So we're both like, see you later. We take off. So from the front rim of my car to the back, it was completely, caved in. Uh-oh, I think I messed this up.
No, it's all right. Just try to pull it back to you a little bit and shake it. Maybe we can get the audio.
Oh.
There you go.
Okay.
Good.
So here I take off. I can't drive this thing around. I'm like, I call my buddy, dude, I got to park this at your house. I think the cops are looking for me, So anyways, that was the day when I lost my car. And now I'm in a trailer, single wide, no heat, in the middle of the winter. Now I'm walking to work. I'm cutting ice, third shift at Have a Bar Ice Cream. So I'm walking. It's only 2.5 miles, but it's 2.5 miles on the south side of Flint. You know what I mean? That's the changing point when I lost everything. And then I'm like, dude, I got to do something. And I remember I would eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner with my grandpa. He would make sure I had a meal in me. There was a job opening at an art van for a sales guy. I'm like, that's what I want to do. So Value City was on the south side of Flint. And he says, Max, go in there and get yourself a suit. You can pay me back. So we went in there. I got my first little $50 suit, and it's been an uphill climb from there. And if it wasn't for my grandfather being able to feed me, I don't know how I would have fed myself, to be honest with you. He took me in under his wing. He really did. And he was super proud of me. And the worst part about it is he didn't get to see my success. He started to see the climb. So he did see it, but not the pinnacle where I'm owning the business. I got 2 beautiful kids, a great wife. He didn't get to see that. That was the biggest thing that I wish he could have been alive another 8 years to see that, because he was a huge part of helping me be successful because he gave me a good foundation. He always kept me grounded. This is a guy that worked at the shop for 38 years in Flint. He's seen it all, his own businesses, gun stores, multiple rental properties, but he's also effed up a lot. He made a lot of mistakes. So, this was a guy that his mentorship was actually excellent. He was spot on. Whether you want to hear it or not, he's going to tell you. And he don't care really about your feelings. He'll tell it like it is. And that goes for anybody. He was just one of those guys, So that, when I lost it all, when I didn't have a car, when my heat was shut off and I'm walking third shift on the south side of Flint to my job to cut ice third shift, that's when I knew. I remember I got fired from that job. Never been fired before. And the guy pulls me in. So I started cutting ice, then I started loading truck. From loading truck, they wanted me to make deliveries to the schools, drop off the ice cream. Start making deliveries to the schools. He calls me, Max, come in here. He goes, I said, what's up? He says, this isn't for you. I said, what do you mean? I said, I thought I'm doing it as you are. He goes, but I need a guy that's going to be here for 20 years. He goes, you're better than this. He goes, I see it in you. He goes, I'm holding you back. And I know right now you're going to be mad at me, but in the future you're going to look back and tell this story. I promise you this, you're better than where you're at now. You need to do something else. And that's what got me into sales. So,
dude, that's actually awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then so you went and you applied for that job
Art
Art Van.
Yeah.
You got the job.
Yeah. Got the job.
How did your life start to change when you started actually crushing some sales?
Yeah,
you got more money.
Yeah. Don't
skip that process because that's like part of the climb up that's super important.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you start having more money at your disposal. Mm-hmm. Let's go to that part of your story.
Yeah. So then the next part is I get here, I get this job. There's a board there's 30 of us. I go from like top 25, top 20, top 10, top 5 and 6 each month against people that have been doing this for 15 years. Here I am, this young kid taking every up I can. You know what I mean? Everybody that comes through the door I was going to talk to, if I stepped on someone's toes, I'd apologize, like if it was another salesperson. But I just was out there. I wasn't lazy, So I started making money. I met my wife right around this time. I was about 22 years ago. She was a little rich girl from Flushing, Michigan, and I was this little poor kid living on the south side of Flint when I met her. And it was from that point on that I had been every step. So I went from selling furniture to doing mortgages for years, and then finance manager for a car dealership for 5 or 6 years. Started making big bucks, but sold my soul, man. I was there 6 days a week, working 80 hours a week, never seeing my kids and wife, and I'm like, I got to change. And then jumped into insurance. And what I thought I was doing, I thought I was an agent. So I got hired in at this agency. And this guy's like, Farm Bureau Insurance, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, cool. Oh, residual income, That's pretty sweet. Well, how I knew that it was a good business, there was a guy I worked with while I did mortgages who I used to smoke every month. Me and him are buddies. He, part owner of hotel, tons of rental properties, owns a limo company, really successful agent at Farm Bureau. And I'm like, if this dude can do it, I can do it. You know what I mean? So with her support, we both, she was a nurse at this time. She went through school in Flint. She got her degree. She's actually going to be an NP soon. She's got her nurse practitioner. So she'll be like have her master's or something crazy. And super proud of that girl. Well, she and I were together that entire time. So she was at the 5 or 6 houses that we have, the rental houses and stuff. You know what I mean? She was my rock. And 9 years in, we got married. It took me 9 years to propose. We've been married for about 12 now. Been together like 22 or something, whatever the math is. And so yeah. So she was a big part of it. And then I had children. I loved her. I really did. But here's the thing. I didn't realize how much I loved her or how good of a person she was till we had children. And then we had these kids, and then I see this woman, the way she is with her children. I fell in love with her because I've never seen such an amazing human being with my children. Like, that's me, right? And they have the best mother. I might not be the best role model because, I got a temper and I want things my way. Well, she does it completely opposite. We're complete opposites. She's kind of reserved and not so much. Politically, we're complete opposites, but our moral compass is the same. And I see her with my kids. Now I'm like, I fall in love with this girl. I'm like, oh my God, she's like amazing with my children. The most important thing in my life, she's the best for them. And I'm like, she fills all the voids that I have for these children, and she's so good with them. So I fell in love with my wife when these kids came out. That's about the time that I started doing insurance about 5 years ago. The kids were born 5 years before that. So it's about 10 years ago. It's like, okay, she's no joke, dude. You know what I mean? So, if she wants something, dude, I don't bat an eye at it. She can have whatever she wants. She was with me when we had nothing. You know what I mean? So if she wants anything, she gets it. I might mess with her a little bit about it, but whatever she wants, she gets, because she was there for me when really no one else was. So, yeah, that all changed. So I started off as a solicitor working under an agent, realized real quick that I wasn't making any money. And one of the girls from the front desk say, hey, you're not an agent, right? You're just a solicitor for an agent. So you don't get any of the renewals on these policies that you're writing. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, no, you're not going to get these renewals. They go in his name. Well, I didn't know how it worked. You know what I mean? So here I am, I'm building this guy's book of business. I didn't know it. I thought I would get paid on it when they renew. So I'm a year into this thing. I'm not making any money. Well, he didn't tell me that part, but I was so naive that I didn't even read it. I'm like, oh, Farm Bureau Insurance. Let me sign this up, right? So then I go to him one day. I'm like, listen, dude, I need to become an agent. If not, I'm out. He goes, yeah, no problem. He acted like it was no big deal. I'm like, what the? So he gets me an interview with a managing partner. Tom Bilgen is one of the guys. There's Tom Parker, 2 Toms. Crushed the interview. I was in a 3-piece suit and all that stuff. I put the show on, and 2 weeks in to being an agent, I get a call from the girl from the front office. She says, hey, do you still have a job? And I'm like, what are you talking about? She goes, well, both the agents here at the office got fired. That means all of us are fired. I'm like, what? I've only been an agent 2 weeks, just passed my life and PNC license. So now I'm like, what? So I'm literally doing a customer's insurance as a commercial policy for a motorcycle place. I say to the guy, I was like, hey, do you happen to have a beer? And he goes, yeah, you want one? I was like, heck yeah, I'm going to take this beer, and I slam it and then jump on the phone, and I call the managing partner. I'm like, hey, what's going on? He goes, well, Max, were you with those 2? And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. He goes, cool, you still have a job then. I'll put you out in Howell and take you out of Pinckney, and we'll find a place for you. So then here we are, now I'm an agent. I get thrown in this guy's office. He was the best mentor. His name's Joe Gabriel, and he helped me a lot, like learning the business. And then I started climbing with Farm Bureau. I'm making All-American. I try to make top 20. I'm doing all the things right. I go the past 3 years, I've went on trips. So I've been to Ireland. I've been to Costa Rica. We just got back from a trip in the Mediterranean. So all this through Farm Bureau. I start making good money, and then I open up my own agency about 2 years ago. Now I got staff, employees. Everybody thinks, oh, man, you got all this money. I'm like, I got all these expenses. In that business, they get paid first. My employees get paid first, then all my bills, and then what's left over is for me. I work really hard for this, though. You know what I mean? During the time when I was building this business, there was no one to help me. I didn't have that sphere of influence where I had a bunch of other people that had insurance. It wasn't like that. I didn't have that group of people to pull from. So everything I got was like, it was hustle. I'd meet somebody, I'd talk to them, I'd become a friend to them, and then they send me their friends and family. And it's 100% been entirely referral based. I don't buy leads. I don't do none of that stuff. So my business that I have now is 100% lead of no leads, I should say. So organic.
100%. And the since you built your company from the ground up, it's like you appreciate every step of the way. You weren't handed anything. It's been amazing hearing this story to this point.
Yep.
I don't know if you can divulge this information or not, but like, what did the Toms do that just got them axed? And then my other question is, were you an agent, you said, for 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
And then all of a sudden, they just put you under
at their office.
At a different, okay, got it.
At their office where they were at.
So then you moved in as just an agent like the Toms were. You were the same position that they were?
Yes.
Okay,
the
got it.
The ones that get shot fired to the new office, yes.
Okay, got it. And then how do you make the jump from you're just an agent selling policies to you're able to run your own branch? Like, was that, hey, you're performing so well and you're doing such a good job for Farm Bureau and you're ethical and you're doing all the things the way that they need to be done, that we want you to have an agency, or you brought that to them? Try to fill in those gaps for me.
So that's on me, right? You could stay in that office, not have any bills, share the staff. He's got the staff. He gets paid for me being there, an XYZ money from Farm Bureau. Or you can start your own agency, but they're not going to throw you in an agency and give you all that responsibility unless you've got the book of business big enough to support it. So they're never going to set you up for failure.
Got it. So you basically had to build the base of the pyramid and show them, hey,
Correct.
I have the book, I've done this, I've got the connections, I'm going here.
Yeah.
If you'll take a chance on me, like, I'm willing to try to put an agency in this location. That makes sense.
That's it. Yep.
Okay, got it. So then all of a sudden you have to hire your own staff. You have to set up all the process, or they...
it's kind of like they'll help you with programs like ADP for my payroll and all my stuff like that. And, but a lot of that stuff is you got to learn from other agents. So I reached out to a bunch of other agents. I'm always was asking questions and, but I'm pretty old school, man. You know what I mean? I still write on paper. When someone calls in and we're fact finding and we're doing discovery on somebody, it's on paper, man. You know what I mean? I'm old school like that. But yeah, so here I am. I'm killing it at Farm Bureau. 3-time All-American going in, and I'm blessed beyond belief, and I know that. One day I go to get off the couch in the middle of the night and felt like my head exploded, right? It was on a Saturday night. I lay around the house in pain. My wife's like, we got to get you to the hospital. But this is during like COVID-ish, right? So I'm like, I'm fine. Finally, I said, dude, I got to go to the hospital. So I couldn't stand up. So I'm laying in the back of the van. The kids are up front. They fold down the back seats. They drop me off at the hospital. Come to find out.
Give me a timeline. When?
Almost 3 years ago.
Almost 3 years ago. So it's 2021?
Yeah, maybe 2022. My timeline could be off, Had a brain injury. So had this brain hemorrhage. Almost die. I was in the hospital about 7 days, get out. They had the award ceremony like 3 weeks after that. And I'm like, I'm walking across that stage and getting all my awards. Regardless, hell or high water, I'm showing up to get my awards. I earned those from the previous year. And there's nothing better than walking across the stage and getting recognized for something that you work so hard for. So I remember 3 weeks, I'm going up the elevator, and I start to pass out. And this is 3 weeks after surgery. I had no business being there. And I'm in a suit and tie and, putting on my wife went to go get a dress for a night ball that we had for this get together. And I'm by myself. And I remember saying to God, please let me make it to the room. Just please let me make it to the room. I was like, I don't want to pass out in this elevator. So that would be so embarrassing. I wasn't worried about my health. I was worried about getting hauled out of there on a stretcher. So anyways, I make it to the room. I take a nap. I get up from the nap. Everything's good. 8 months later, I'm in, I think I forgot to lock the back door. So meanwhile, in 8 months, I have a great recovery. Like, perfect. Cognitive brain function. Everything's fine. And then about 8 months into it, I go and unlock the back door go to lock the back door of my agency. It was on a Saturday. I drive around the front, and then pow, smack, I get hit on my motorcycle. Guy was texting on his phone. And I'm telling you, the bike flew 15 feet. I flew about 25. I'd do a couple tumbles. I just had some blood hanging out of this arm. I didn't have a helmet and hit my head on the ground. And I stand up and I'm like, okay, arms, legs, good. They rushed me into the little minute clinic there. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to be all right. I just got a scratch on my elbow. So about 5 days later, I started having really bad balance issues. So what happened was it rattled my brain to where it started filling up with fluid. And that's when so it's been a rough 12 months. I'm coming out of it. I was healed up, and then that happened, right? So now I'm struggling. I'd get to work, and I couldn't concentrate. I could only work for like an hour and a half, right? Because my brain didn't work, bro. I couldn't get it to function. I'd get so frustrated. Or I'd be walking, and all of a sudden, the room starts spinning, and I can't walk anymore. So I'd be dropped off at home. So I went through all this crap. I'm coming out of the ether now. But during that year or so, I'm losing customers, right? Because the Max Auger that got him in there, the Max Auger isn't around because Max is not in the office because he's healing up somewhere. So my staff supported me, super supportive. If it wasn't for them, I'd have lost all my customers. So now over the past 12 months, I have to reestablish my relationships with all these people again. You know what I mean? Like re-earn their trust again that I'm going to be there. It helped a little bit because I'd be the first to tell them, hey, just so you know, I had a brain injury, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, okay, I didn't know, So my business is now picking up again. This has been quite the experience. Home, life, auto, I do it all, commercial. I'm actually doing the 2 car washes here. I've got 2 other places downtown that I'm doing with other businesses. So like I'm back on my feet and I'm going. I had brain surgery January of this year. So that's what kind of got me to where I can walk again and be good and be functional. I had brain surgery in January.
Did they give you a diagnosis of exactly what was going on that was causing those issues?
Well, they said it was the fluid from my brain. I don't know if it was hydrocephalitis or something like that. The fluid from my brain was just pushing out. You know what I mean? Because it's full of water, right? And it shouldn't have been, So, that's, and the thing is, like, I was great. 8 months after the brain hemorrhage, great. Like, working out, blah, 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 riding motorcycles, and then get hit. And the next thing you know, I could barely walk and I can't ride my motorcycle anymore. I probably put 8 miles on it. So, meanwhile, I still got this big book of business, and I still got to generate income, and I still got to pay my employees, and I still got to pay, you know what I mean? So I had a lot of help from the girls in my office. They covered for me, And then, so now I'm just in the rebuild process. Part of, being a part of this here is, to generate some new sources of income. I really like what I seen here. I got my kid doing boxing. This is awesome.
I really think the transparency to the community is massive too. When people actually hear your story and what you've gone through and what you're facing, a lot of people face battles alone and they don't want to talk about them because they feel like it's almost like a sign of weakness. Mm-hmm. It's like you need to promote out there, like, look, I'm still going to bat for you despite all these struggles.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? You are still, I see it every time I've been around you, and we're really just getting to know each other over the last 6 months. You're always fighting for your business, fighting for your community, fighting to increase that book and to provide a good service for people. One of the things I'm going to shout out for people that are watching this episode is when you and I sat down and you were looking at all my policies, you were saying, you know what, I wouldn't change this. I would keep that. I wouldn't. You could have easily said, yep, change all these policies. I want you to adjust all these things. I want you to, take on this and, adjustment, blah, blah, blah. You were like, that's great. Yeah. Fix this. You gave me a highlighted sheet with exactly the weaknesses in the policy or the things that I should address, and the transparency, the straightforwardness, and the honesty of those conversations. I was like, that's fantastic. Yeah. You easily could have been like, this guy's got money. He's got this. I want to put him on X policy, Y policy, Z policy. You tried to do what was right based on my circumstances. And mine are probably very different than the average person that you deal with. Yeah. But that speaks to your character. You could have effortlessly just said, do X, Y, Z. And like, it's not my world. I probably would have been like, all right, maybe I follow that. That means a lot. Yeah. And if people can see the transparency of your story, see what you've gone through, what you've battled with, hear about the Max that was living in a trailer, struggling to get by, that has built himself from the ground up to the Max that you now see up the road running his own agency. It makes you more human. It's like, dude, that's a guy that's built a life, who just spoke about the love of his life and what a perfect mother and woman he has by his side. That's the type of person I want to support. That's the type of person I want to give business to. Because when people, especially nowadays, people feel so disconnected from much of the world because although social media has connected us, we spend less time interacting like this. We spend less time with just our friends bullshitting. The world's so busy and most people are just looking at the world through a portal.
Oh, yeah.
We need to get back to community.
Oh, yeah.
We need to get back to, your agent. Yep. You're not calling Farm Bureau. You're calling Max.
Yeah, you're calling Max.
Hey, Max, this is what I got going on. What can you do to help me?
Yeah. And, typically, like, when you talk to an insurance guy, 9 times out of 10, everything's fine. But when it's not, they always say you never know how good your agent is until you need them the most. So I'm there for my customers, and we take care of their claims, and we make them whole again if they were to lose anything, whether it's houses, cars, whatever. I think that's amazing. I really like that part of it, being able to help people, or someone calls me, Max, you saved me 30% on all my stuff and increased my coverages or kept them the same. You know what I mean? That's how I get my business. So I meet with these people and I talk to them, and I earn their business. It's not given to me.
I'm witnessing it right now. You've been interacting with multiple members on my fight team, people of this community, and they're all saying to me, dude, Max saved me a lot of money. I wouldn't even have thought to adjust my insurance policy because I just pay it every month. It is what it is. Yeah. I don't really like it, but I didn't think I had options. Now I sat down with someone. They gave me a better policy at a better rate. Those are the conversations we want to have. And who do you want going to bat for you? The random stranger that picks up the phone at whatever insurance agency you have that you don't probably know at all or have a relationship with, or Max up the road, you know him, you know his son, you know he's a part of the community, you've heard his story, and he's going to go to bat for you.
Sure.
I've had, not to shit on a company, but I'm going to just tell the truth. I've had, I almost said Farm Bureau, State Farm, okay? I have very rarely needed to make claims. 2 of the claims that I needed to make in my life, one, my basement in Fowlerville flooded. My house completely flooded. Oh, no. All the stuff in my basement completely wiped out. I've got homeowners insurance. I'm thinking this is terrible, but it'll be okay because that's why I have insurance, right?
Yeah.
I called the State Farm Agency. I'm like, hey, guys, I have over a foot of water in my basement. I walked downstairs, over a foot, Max. Wiped out electronics, wiped out so many memories and nostalgic items. Horrible. Gone. Yeah. So I'm thinking, although it's tragic, thank God this is why people have insurance. And they told me, sorry, sir, you don't have a sump pump addition or something that had to be added to
water backup. Yeah.
You told me that I had flood insurance. And why else would my basement flood other than my sump pump stopped pumping the water out of the house? Yes. And it would have been an extra $8 a month. But they never said, hey, just want to let you know.
You don't have any water backup. You have none. Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I really just got screwed there. And because if I would have known you in that period, you would have said, hey, James, I know you think you have flood coverage. Likely the reason your basement will flood is because your sump's going to stop working. Make sure you have that on your policy. And I'm going to go, $10 a month, duh.
Sure. Yeah.
I was never told that. So they collected all my money every single month. No big deal. Yeah, you're all set, bud. Don't you worry. When I had to call them, nope, sorry. And I'll give you one more. Recently, my Corvette got backed into in downtown Brighton. I was parked right on Main Street. I was meeting for lunch with Tristan and Andrew. We were having a staff meeting. Some guy backed right up, smashed my front bumper, drives away. So I think, that's why I have insurance. So I call up the insurance, blah, blah, blah. We take it into a shop. They want to repaint my bumper, but the paint does not match perfectly when the aftermarket shops try to paint. So I have a $100,000 car, and they're going to repaint my front bumper, but it's not going to perfectly match the fenders. It's like you have to blend it, right? Yeah. That's like a standard process. The insurance company, State Farm, says, sorry, we're not going to pay for the blending. The shop needs to be better at doing it. And I'm going, if this is a Cavalier or a Malibu or whatever, I might go, you know what, the slight tint difference, whatever. So out of pocket, I had to pay more than double what my full coverage paid to get my bumper repaired in a hit and run.
That's wild.
So what I'm saying is 2 examples from a massive insurance company. State Farm's huge. State Farm's huge. Yeah. And I got absolutely screwed both times. And I genuinely believe if I would have known the agent there, they could have been like, hey, you have to make these policy adjustments or X, Y, and Z. Yeah. I could have avoided thousands. I probably lost $15K between those 2 incidents. Oh, yeah. And I pay my bill every month. So the reason for telling these stories is, do you want a stranger that's going to call you up and say, hey, did you add that sump pump to your coverage? You didn't? Well, you're shit out of luck. Right, sorry, we're not going to cover the basic blending of 2 paints. Tough luck. Take it or leave it. Or do you want someone that, I'm sure you have tons of limitations too. You can only work within certain parameters. I'm sure there's some times that your hands are tied where you want to help the person. But at least knowing that I have an agent that I can drive up to his office up the road and I know the man and he's advising me to the best of his ability, it's a no-brainer.
Right.
It's a no-brainer. Yeah. So,
and that's the thing too, is like, I'm not going to, you're never supposed to talk down about your competition. And State Farm is competition, right? They're a national carrier. Farm Bureau, Farm Bureau is a Michigan-based company, been in business for 70 years in the state of Michigan. So we are relationship built. State Farm is going to get your information from online, and they're going to market to you, right? And you come in as a lead. You come in as a person with Farm Bureau. That's the big thing. But that's one thing I was going to say. None of the State Farm policies that I come across, 90% of them don't have water backup. And I'm like, you don't have water backup. What's that mean? Well, you got a finished basement? Yes. If that sub pump backs up, you don't have any coverage for your stuff. Are you serious? And I'm like, yeah, I am serious. And let me explain. All of my policies, regardless, even the lowest level policy has water backup on every policy with Farm Bureau. Because that type of stuff happens. You know what I mean? And then you can go up from there. And
like I said, that's why your basement's going to flood. That alone makes me like, I don't want State Farm at all, because I don't even know the person that I can sit across from and trust to just tell me, hey, what is likely to happen is going to absolutely obliterate you if you don't fix this.
Oh, it's horrible.
Pay the extra $10 a month, because if your flood happens, you're going to go, thank God I did that.
And everything that's in your basement, you've got your hot water heater down there. You've got your furnace down there. That's expensive, and it gets expensive.
Oh, it rusted out. 100%. I saw the rust all in it. The water got up into my hot water heater. Tough luck.
Yeah.
You should have known better.
Yeah.
It's like, what, I should know all of the rules and regulations and policy.
But that's the job of the agent, to give you that option to either waive it or take it.
I'm so glad you just said that, because I was going to say there's no way someone that didn't go to college for insurance or hasn't studied it endlessly could possibly know all the ins and outs of what policy, like the amount of fine print in insurance is probably through the roof.
It's written by lawyers. So, I don't know everything, but it's written by lawyers.
So what I want
so it's
is an
complicated.
agent that's going to try his best
Right.
to create a policy to protect me,
Yeah.
my family, and my assets.
Yeah.
And that's the difference, is when you can sit face to face with someone in your community versus I talked to Joe Schmo agent that said, tough luck, young man. You are shit out of luck.
Yeah.
So
For sure.
let's talk about the way we'll wrap up this podcast. Looking into the future, looking forward, looking from where you are right now and all the progress you've made, which has been tremendous hearing your story from dead broke, rock bottom to where you are now.
Sure.
What things still motivate you? What keeps you excited? What are your goals? What are the next stages are you trying to expand the amount of employees you have? Are you trying to just, make more of a community outreach? Like, what are you really focused on when you look over the next couple of years, that if we were to podcast 3 years from now and you were like, man, I'm crushing it, what does that look like?
My family, being a better husband and a better dad to my children. That's first and foremost. And God, my business is going to be successful because I'm going to make it that way. It doesn't have a choice but to work, right? But the stuff that is the most important to me is raising good human beings and good children, and taking care of my family. And that to me, if I can be better than what I am today, tomorrow, then I've achieved everything I wanted to achieve in life when it comes to that. So,
Man, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And I see that.
Yeah.
I see you sitting on the side of the mat when little Max Jr.'s out there throwing gloves.
oh jeez, yeah.
And I see how fired you are about that. And that I set that question up in a way where you could have effortlessly only discussed business metrics and your goals there. And your first thing was, I'm going to make sure that I give my family the best version of me possible for the blessings that I've received.
For sure, yeah.
Dude, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's
man.
fantastic.
I'm blessed, and I'm really good at insurance. So if you need insurance, commercial, home, life, auto, I'm your man. I do all that stuff. We'll meet personally.
We recently had an idea, and it's actually perfect that we should review it on this podcast, and then we should implement it in December or effective maybe right into the new year, where you are sponsoring this academy. We need to have a way that when people come into this academy, let's say while their kids are training, what if they could bring in their policy with them or pull it up online, and you could sit down with them and figure out those little details where they're at huge risk, your water backup problems, even if – I bet you would do that. It's like, hey, listen, even if you're not going to change carriers.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Get this on your policy so that you're not sitting in James's shoes going, I lost everything I had in my basement.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Showing people that genuine, like, man, I'm just going to be here for you. And if you decide that I should be your agent versus the random person that's helping you right now, then come see me at my office and make it happen. I think if we can set up a way here where, once a week or a couple times a month, people can sit down with you and then map out all these issues, that's a game changer.
Yeah. Insurance reviews, that's what I do, and those are free, 100%. Whether you go with me or not, I'll give you an honest opinion and point you in the right direction, either way.
So if someone wants to contact you, Max, they're really interested in sitting down and talking to you about their policies, or they're considering switching agencies, should they just come to your location? Should they reach out to you by phone or email? Like, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
Well, I think the biggest failure you can do as an agent is be unreachable to your customers, right? So I am going to say my office number. It's 517-798-1234. My cell phone number is 810-275-2973. If I don't pick up, leave a message. I will call you back. But we're available Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 at the office. I can sit down with you, but feel free to call my cell phone. I don't care if it's on the weekend. If I'm available, I'm answering the phone. And I make myself available to my customers, and I do everything I can to help them out. And if I can't do it for them right then, I get it done as fast as I can. So those are the two ways to get a hold of me, cell phone and call the office.
One final thing. I want to shout out, you actually have some awesome people in your office too, like Rick Barrett.
That
guy,
Rick,
man,
he's the man.
Just a great dude. Is he an agent at your office, or does he have a different role within the company?
So he started off as a life guy, just selling life insurance. And if you know his story, I'll let him tell that someday. But he had an incident in his life where he lost his wife, and life insurance helped to ease that burden on him for a few years. So he is a huge proponent and a huge endorser of life insurance. So good story. I hired him for that. He recently just got his property and casualty license. So he has his life license, he has a property and casualty license. So now Rick is doing property casualty and life insurance. So Rick is up and running as what they call a solicitor. I call him a account executive for my agency, and he does insurance now too. And he's doing a good job.
And I mean, he's just a phenomenal man. I don't know many of your other staff members, but like Rick is a phenomenal man. And his wife used to be in here constantly, and she would sit on the side of the mat, and she radiated such good energy. And the awesome love she had for her children. When Hayden would come in, and some of her other kids, and Liberty, that woman would sit there with such like. She just loved being there to see her children, to watch them pushing themselves. She was a very fiery woman, too. I don't know if you ever really knew her.
Just the stories he tells.
Dude, she was a passionate, fiery, high energy, like the type of woman that changes things, that changes environments. I guarantee you was a powerhouse in the family, and built very successful children.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And like tragedy struck that family. And it's, it's amazing to see how they're rebounding, because like, man, losing a mother, losing your wife of that many years, I don't know how you go on from some of those things.
But if that's any indication on how good of a father he is, his kids are all doing great. They have their struggles, but they are all doing great. They're killing it. He's got kids that are going to college. All his kids go to school. They're not strung out on drugs. They're not partying. These kids are legit. Like, you walk into you rob that house, you're getting hurt. Everybody in there is a wrestler or an ex-fighter, or he does jiu-jitsu. Even his daughter would kill me. You know what I mean? Like, they are all disciplined, and that's all because, Rick, as a father, did such a good job with these kids.
100%.
Yeah, just a great guy.
100%. Well, man, we shot an hour dialogue today.
Okay.
It was a killer story. It was excellent sitting down with you. Man, maybe I can get Rick on the podcast at some point.
Rick
too.
would be, oh my God, the stories that guy could tell.
Oh, especially because of his career.
Oh, yeah.
What he did in his work life.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm sure he has some incredible stories.
Like, seriously awesome. He would be a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, I need to get him on the podcast.
Yeah, he's an amazing guy too. Yeah, he's a good guy.
Well, awesome. You guys know how to reach out to Max. He's right up the road, right there in Howell, not far from this academy. If you don't see him up there, you'll see him in here. Thank you for sitting down with me today.
All right, man. Thank you very much.